Time is the one thing we all believe is constant. It moves forward, second by second, never looking back. But on July 2nd, 1955, 57 passengers boarded a Silver Bird in New York City, expecting a simple 3-hour hop to Miami. They never arrived. For 37 years, they were considered ghosts, souls lost to the deep blue of the Atlantic, until September 9th, 1992, in a control tower in Caracas, Venezuela, an unidentified aircraft appeared out of thin air. It wasn't a modern jet, it was a relic. A Douglas DC-4, gleaming as if it had just rolled off the assembly line in the 1950s. What followed was a conversation that shouldn't have been possible, a dialogue between two different eras. Today we investigate Pan Am Flight 914. Is it the most elaborate hoax in history, or did 61 people accidentally stumble through a glitch in our reality? Let's begin in 1955, the golden age of flight. Pan American World Airways was the king of the skies, and the Douglas DC-4 was its trusty workhorse. On that fateful July morning, Flight 914 was scheduled to take off from New York with 57 passengers and 4 crew members. The flight was supposed to be routine, the weather was reported as clear, and the mood was hopeful. These were the days when air travel was still a glamorous adventure, not the chore it can be today. Families were heading for sunny vacations. Business travelers were closing deals. Everything was perfectly normal. But as the plane reached the Atlantic coast, the unthinkable happened. The little blip on the air traffic control radar that represented Pan Am 914 simply stopped. It vanished. There was no Mayday call, no report of engine failure, and not a single distress signal. It was as if the sky had opened up and swallowed the plane whole. Immediately, the U.S. Coast Guard launched a massive search and rescue operation. Ships and aircraft scoured the ocean for weeks, hoping for any sign of survivors or wreckage. But they found nothing. No debris, no oil slicks, not a single life vest. It was a complete and total disappearance. Eventually, the search was called off. Pan Am Flight 914 was declared a tragedy. Its passengers and crew presumed lost forever, vanished into the vast abyss of the ocean. Now, fast forward 37 years to September 9th, 1992. We're in the air traffic control tower in Caracas, Venezuela. A man named Juan de la Corte is managing a standard shift. The airwaves are filled with the usual chatter of incoming and outgoing jets. Suddenly, an impossible blip appears on his radar screen. It came from nowhere. It wasn't on a scheduled flight path, and it wasn't responding to initial calls. Then, out of the clouds, a propeller-driven plane emerges, looking like something straight out of a museum. It's a Douglas DC-4, an aircraft that had been retired from major airline service for decades. The pilot's voice finally crackles over the radio, filled with confusion and a slight panic. He says, "We are Pan American Airways Flight 914 from New York to Miami. Where are we?" The control tower is stunned into silence. Juan, trying to remain professional, informs the pilot that he has flown almost 2,000 miles off course and is approaching Caracas. Then he asks for their scheduled landing time. The pilot replies, "We are scheduled to land in Miami at 9:55 a.m. on July 2nd, 1955. Another moment of stunned silence. Juan carefully responds, telling the pilot the truth. "Sir, today is September 9th, 1992. The radio goes dead. From the cockpit, pure, terrified silence. As ground crews are dispatched and surround the aircraft on the runway, they can see faces pressed against the windows. People dressed in 1950s fashion, staring out in disbelief at the modern jets and airport vehicles. They haven't aged a single day. The pilot, panicked by this impossible reality, screams over the radio for the ground crew to stay back. Then, without any clearance, he restarts his engines. The propellers roar to life, and with a powerful surge, the Douglas DC-4 hurtles down the runway and takes off, vanishing back into the clouds just as mysteriously as it arrived. So to solve this mind-bending mystery, we must look at the facts. Where did this incredible story actually come from? Our investigation traces it back to its original source, the Weekly World News. This was a tabloid newspaper famous for its fantastical, often hilarious, supernatural tall tales. Headlines about bat boys, alien presidents, and time-traveling tourists were its bread and butter. The Pan Am 914 story was first published by the tabloid in 1985, and they liked it so much they reprinted it twice more in the 1990s, each time with slightly different details and a different photo of the supposed air traffic controller Juan de la Corte. This is our first major red flag. When we dig into the official records, the story completely falls apart. There are no aviation archives, no government reports, and no 1955 newspaper articles that confirm the disappearance of a Pan Am Flight 914. Pan American Airways' own historical flight logs show no such incident. The story, it seems, was a brilliant piece of fiction, crafted to prey on our fascination with the unknown. It became one of the first great urban legends of the internet era, spreading like wildfire across forums and early social media, with each retelling adding a new layer of convincing detail. It demonstrates the incredible power of a good story and why the human mind is sometimes so desperate, so eager to believe in the impossible. But let's entertain the idea for a moment. What if it were true? How could science possibly explain an airplane jumping forward in time by 37 years? This takes us into the mind-bending world of theoretical physics. One popular theory involves something called an Einstein-Rosen bridge, more commonly known as a wormhole. In theory, a wormhole is a shortcut through the fabric of space-time, connecting two distant points. Could Flight 914 have accidentally flown into a temporary, naturally occurring wormhole that flung it decades into the future? Then there's the concept of vile vortices. These are 12 specific areas on Earth, including the Bermuda Triangle, where strange electromagnetic distortions and other unexplained phenomena are said to occur. Some theorists propose that these vortices could act as portals. Perhaps a massive magnetic storm or an unusual atmospheric condition acted as a trigger, creating a gateway that sent the plane on its unexpected journey through time. And what about the passengers? This is where the concept of time dilation comes in. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, time can pass at different rates for different observers. For the people on board Flight 915, their journey through this anomaly might have felt like just a few minutes of turbulence. But for the rest of the world, 37 years had passed. It's a terrifying thought. To land in a world that has moved on without you, where everyone you knew is either old or gone. In the end, the story of Pan Am Flight 914 remains the ultimate glitch in the matrix. It's a modern myth that perfectly captures our anxieties about time, technology, and our place in the universe. While the evidence overwhelmingly points to it being a masterful work of fiction from a tabloid newspaper, the legend refuses to die. Why? Because it asks a question we all secretly wonder about. What if the rules of reality aren't as solid as we think? The only piece of physical evidence allegedly left behind was a small pocket calendar from 1955, supposedly dropped by the pilot onto the Caracas runway just before he vanished for the second time. Of course, there's no real proof this calendar ever existed. Yet it serves as the perfect final detail in a story that blurs the line between fact and fantasy. So the next time you look up at the sky and see a silver propeller plane that seems to shimmer, to not quite belong in this era, maybe, just maybe, it's a lost flight, just looking for its way home. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy diving into mysteries like this, make sure to subscribe and follow for more.